Crusaders, and welcome to another edition of Batman, the Animated Series podcast. I'm your host, Alex Robson. With me today is the guy that's usually behind the screen, not on the screen. It's our editor, the guy in the chair, Mr. Kade Calvin. Say hello, Kade.
Hello, Alex. How are you doing? I'm not Will Robson. I'm not your brother. I'm not posh English, but I am here to talk some Batman, and I'm really pumped up to do so.
Hell yeah, man. I'm glad. We've been wanting to do this for a while, and I know we at one point were going to do it, and then my work got in the way. So I'm glad we can make this happen now. And yeah, welcome to the show. Obviously, my brother is away. He's away on holiday, so we thought this is the perfect time. And when he comes back next week, we will review Harley's holiday and maybe even his holiday as well. But
Ooh.
I'm very excited to chat with you about BTAS today because we are doing, according to Kade, top five worst and top five best Batman the Animated Series episodes. So if this goes well, then I'm sure in the future when we have guests come on outside of the BTAS, producers, directors, and writers and all of that, I think it'd be a really interesting conversation to have because sometimes the opinions are just kind of like across the board. Everyone thinks this episode sucks or is like one of the best. And sometimes you get a surprise where someone's like, you know what? I think, what's that episode with the mobster and his brother and his brother's got a peg leg? Oh, it's such Someone said that to me that's their favorite episode.
Catholic priest, and that episode is very, I'd say, polarizing because I've seen it on. So after I got my list together,
never too late.
Which we'll get into. I got my list together. I was like, let's see how it stacks up to other lists because I'm always curious how other people think. Right, that episode is either in the top worst or top best. It's never in the mid tier, which is crazy to me. A lot of people complain that it's so slow and like dramatic for a kid show, which I guess it is. But like, have you seen the rest of the show? Right?
It's got a heroin, it's got a heroin drug line in it. There's a plot line where the guy's son is a heroin addict. That's crazy.
I just watched it and I was like, oh, I had to pause it. I was like, this is really heavy for a cartoon. You know what I mean? As heavy as Batman can get sometimes, even. You know what I mean? So I think that episode is definitely one of the heavier episodes. So. But we'll see if it's on my list either way. So
we will. Let's do a little intro to you first, because obviously, as I said, you've been the guy in the chair and our editor for quite some time now, which I was so happy and relieved when we linked up. And, you've been smashing it, dude, and so many comments coming in about how our production level has gone up another notch. And we've had so many great comments about some of the funny things you've added. You've even created the oh brother, this guy stinks, that's become a little thing now, which I love.
Oh brother, this guy stinks.
My first question to you, to intro you, is when did you discover Batman the Animated Series, the show, and then when did you discover Batman the Animated Series, the podcast?
Okay, so the show, believe it or not, I discovered the show a lot earlier in life than I discovered the podcast. I hate to break your heart there, Alex Robson, but I did love the show many years before that. So not to date myself, but I was watching it when it came out. New episodes on Fox Kids. I grew up in America, in the States, Washington State, Eastern Washington. So I'd watch it as it was coming, as new episodes were coming in. Would it be like 92, I guess it would, you know? So yeah, I'd watch it. It was one of my favorite shows then. It's one of my favorite shows that now. So 92, I would have been 5 years old, not to date myself.
Yeah, because we're like the same age, aren't we? Yeah.
We're actually long lost twin brothers, actually. So yes.
Oh, so my brother is on the podcast still. Okay.
Yeah. There you go. So brother from another mother. It'd be the same mother though, unless we do some weird Batman Beyond type experiment type stuff, right?
Which is okay.
Well, I'm sure you and we'll talk about that later down the road, but that is a very cool episode and a very weird episode.
I think that will
Justice
be
League.
That will literally be the last episode that we ever review for the show. I planned it out, because that is the bookend to Bruce Wayne in Batman the Animated Series. So that would literally be the last episode we ever review.
The Timverse, as I've heard it called recently.
I've heard that. Yeah, I've heard that.
I don't know why it's not just the DCAU anymore.
Yeah,
now it's the Timverse.
I know there's so many animated universes.
We've already got a name for it.
Whatever you want to call it, that will be the last episode. But yeah, So you discovered it in 1992 and was watching it when it came out. Do you have like actually no, before I ask you that, when did you discover the podcast?
I believe so. When did you guys start doing it? Because I discovered it, you'd already done Spider-Man by then. So I believe I was in Maine, and that would have been around 2021.
Which is
So I think you guys,
where I live. We discovered we lived in the same
yeah, which
states
is
at
bizarre.
different
We
times.
also lived in New Jersey as well. Both
Yeah,
of us did
yeah.
at different times. So I went to school there at Rutgers. I got the representation right now. So but yeah, then I worked in Maine for a while. So anybody who doesn't know, my day job is as a TV news guy. So yeah, so I do
Mm.
that on the
And
side.
also
But yeah, I was
those aren't vampire bites on your face.
those aren't vampire bites. No, I got a couple of little marks on my, we'll call it shaving marks just for those at home. But yeah, so they're not vampire marks or anything bad like that. So, but yeah, I mean, so I think I was in Maine by then because I graduated college and I believe so. Either that or in New Jersey. I can't remember exactly. What year did you guys start the podcast? Do you know off the top of your head?
Spider-Man or Batman?
Batman.
Batman, we started in the 30th anniversary, so 2022 is when we started.
That must have been when I must have been there close from the beginning too, then, because I've been
Mm.
listening to it for years at this point. And
Yeah.
the first place I found it was actually TikTok. So I wasn't looking for Batman the Animated Series podcasts on Spotify, even though I do listen to podcasts on Spotify, of course. But like I saw, it was the clip of from I believe Heart of Ice that you and Will did, and you guys are playing Alfred Drunk. And I've told you this off pod, but I think that is the single best joke in the history of Batman the Animated Series podcast, one that you made, not Will. We started five.
I'll take it.
It was
Yeah.
the ultimate punctuation, and I've watched that and said that to so many people, and I've gotten friends to watch the podcast based on that one TikTok. So that one TikTok has gotten you at least 3 or 4 fans. I mean, so
I
you know
mean,
what I
we're
mean.
we're
So
in the big leagues now. Yeah,
yeah,
I
baby.
appreciate that, and yeah, I mean, we start at five was probably the funniest I've ever been. So I'm glad that that stood out. It's definitely my crowning achievement in jokes on this show. Besides nah, but yeah, I mean, you know, those clips are great, and I'm so glad they work because they literally connect me with so many people besides just listeners and, you know, and getting a fan base, but connected me with you, connected me with the voice of Bishop from X-Men the Animated Series, Isaac Robinson Smith, who I just saw out in London recently, which was a great time. Met him and his missus.
I'll be there in just a second, please.
Why did I hire you?
Because before 5 p.m. I am the best.
We start at 5.
Oh dear.
I'm glad you've been there since the beginning, so you kind of like followed along and, you know, seen us go from like me figuring out some of the technicalities and improving slowly from microphone quality to camera quality. I mean, you've experienced that pain with me, I know, on some of the things you've had to edit. But your editing background, where does that come from?
Oh, that's TV news right there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, a big thing in TV news now is it's all what they call, one man band or multimedia journalists. So when I started in Maine, I've dabbled with editing in school, but I never like got formally trained in it. Like Adobe Premiere Pro, that's what we use for the show here. For people who don't know, like it's got so many features and options, and it can be just kind of overwhelming. You don't know what you're doing. So I learned with a very basic tool called Edius in Maine, how to edit news stories. And editing a news story is very different than editing an hour and a half episode. You know what I mean? So because you're editing a minute and a half news story and bing, bang, get it in, get it out. Because news story film isn't necessarily like pretty or fancy or sexy or anything like that, right? It's kind of just the bare bones, the facts, right? But I learned the basics there, the good foundation and everything. And now that I'm using Adobe here, like I've always liked to experiment with new transitions and things that I think would be funny. So sometimes when I'm going through an episode with you and Will, like, and people, a little peek behind the curtain for people, sometimes you'll send me a photo and you'll be like, hey, you're going to want to throw in this photo of old man Daniel Craig, right? Or something like that, right? But for the most part, you're just like, yeah, just do what you think is funny. And like, we've done stuff like that, or like Will or you will give me a feed like, hey, can you play him going a couple times, and I'll try to make it as funny as I can, and I'll be like, let's see if this would be funny, or let's see if that would be funny, or like when Will did that stone face to you when that
Oh
thing.
yeah, the
Remember that?
stone
Yeah.
face. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
had a lot of fun with that. I've made like 4 or 5 of them, and I've got them in meme form that I throw in the Discord every once in a while now when someone says something, out of pocket or something stupid. But yeah, so it's the perfect meme. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I think it applies to my, meticulous nature because I'm kind of a tedious person. I like to sit there and just kind of tinker with things. And you and I have talked about this too. How we're both kind of what'd you call
Perfectionist.
perfectionists. Yeah. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that applies to both of us. But what about you? When did you start editing? Just for the show, or?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did. I learned how to. I mean, I don't use Premiere Pro because I don't have access to it, nor do I have any training on it. But before the show, when I lived in Maine, coincidentally, I worked for an
Mhm.
events marketing company, and we basically did all of the events for like Toyota and a couple other brands across the eastern seaboard. So I was traveling a lot. I was going to these events, and I had to capture all this footage, and then I had to edit it in Final Cut Pro. So I taught myself how to use Final Cut. And then that would go to like all the Toyota stakeholders and stuff. So I started there, and then when it came to the podcast, especially when it came to the clips, I was like, all right, how do I use the system? Because I think I've said this before. I don't have access to a beautiful, shiny Final Cut Pro with all of the options. I use iMovie because it's fucking free, and it's very similar to Final Cut, which is what I train myself on. So that's where I make all those videos. And then, yeah, I started to like really develop my own techniques and shortcuts and figured out that system. And now, a video that would take me normally a couple hours takes me only an hour, to like edit together because of the shortcuts that I put into it. So, yeah, that's what I've been learning. I'd love to have access to, things like Adobe and learn how to use it. But maybe one day. But in the meantime, that's why you're here. And honestly,
Yeah.
you do a far better job anyway. Um, so yeah, I guess before we go into your top five,
Mhm.
you started watching the show as a kid, and obviously you still watch it today. What is it to you? And it doesn't have to be one thing, but what is it to you that this show? What makes you love this show so much? Really?
I think it's a perfect adaptation of a character that I grew up loving. And it's one of those shows where like we've heard Bruce Timm talk about, like, we weren't necessarily making a kid show, right? We were making a
Mm.
show that we loved, that was really good, that happened to be on Fox Kids, or however he put it. I'm paraphrasing very
With
deeply here,
heroin
but
addicts slapping their wrists.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like some episodes, like you and Will have gone over to, like, this feels like a Saturday morning cartoon, but then you got to remember, like, it is a cartoon at the end of the day,
It
but
is,
like,
yeah.
also the show really holds up. Like anybody I've shown the show to, where you show them some of the bangers, as the Duddy bangers of the different episodes
Mm.
that we like. So they're like, yeah, this is a good show, and they're like, this is a cartoon from the 90s, because there's a lot of 90s cartoons where if I pull them up right now, it would be like, this is absolute garbage.
Yeah, it's
But
true.
Batman the Animated Series, it passes the test of time, and it's just a timeless show. You can tell they put a lot into it. They did a lot of things that were different. The art style is different. They have like full blown orchestra for music and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
cartoons then didn't do that, and cartoons now don't do that. So it's just got a different feel to it, a different vibe that makes it extra special, even outside of being a character and characters that you and I both love.
Yeah, we can thank Steven Spielberg for that, actually. I've never spoken about that on the pod, but because of Tiny Toons and Animaniacs, and because of Spielberg wanting an orchestra like behind those cartoons, and to make mini movies with a cartoon episode and treat them like mini movies, they went from that straight into Batman. And it was that influence that caused Batman the Animated Series to be a thing and to have that level of production quality behind it. So I mean, I owe a lot to Steven Spielberg for, cultivating my childhood, and there's another thing that I can add to the list.
Yeah. Yeah, talk about an absolute legend, right? I feel like
Yeah.
even though he's like the name in Hollywood, I feel like people don't talk about Spielberg enough, honestly, with how much stuff he's done. Because that guy is just like he's a media god at this point. Like he could walk
Oh
on
yeah,
water
I mean, he
almost.
hasn't. He hasn't made anything great in many years, in my opinion. But for the things that he did that still live on, the franchises are still being made because he started them. Like there's
Yeah,
a new
yeah,
fucking Jurassic Park out right now because he started
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And there's so
Jurassic
many other
World
ones.
now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah, and
Jurassic.
it's
Yeah.
not very good. But we're not talking about that today.
No, we're not.
So,
So with Batman the animated series and with all the hype as a kid for the show being the quality that it was, what did you come into like? What did you consume out of that media besides the show? Like there was obviously like all the soft goods. There was like McDonald's. There was
hmm.
like all the art books and like just the toys obviously being the biggest one of all. As a kid, did you like consume BTAS to its utmost?
As much as I could, like I grew up with a single mom. We didn't have a ton of money. So like I wasn't a kid who could get like every single thing I ever wanted, right? But I did get a lot of stuff. And when it was Christmas or birthday time for young Kate Calvin, you better believe it was either Batman or it was Ninja Turtles
Oh
were on the
shit.
docket because those were and still are my two favorite top franchises ever. So I've always said that like I'm a bigger Marvel fan than I'm a DC fan, but in terms of one superhero, it's always been Batman, right?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and just this isn't BTAS, but a quick aside, quick story that my mom has told me for 38 years now. During the first Batman movie, which came out in what 89, I think we saw it when it was
Yep.
already on VHS. So I was like 3 or 4 years old by this point. Batman crashes his airplane when Joker shoots it down, right? Money, money, money. Who do you love? He blows it out of the sky. I
Mm-hmm.
cried according to my mom, allegedly. I haven't shed a tear since that day. I cried when Batman crashed his plane, and my mom has reminded me of that every single time Batman has ever been brought up in her presence whatsoever. Batman Dark Knight with Heath Ledger's Joker was coming out. What was it like 2008,
Yep.
2007, something around?
2008.
My
Yeah.
buddies and I were going to the movies. I'm a full grown man at this point, and I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna go see this movie." She's like, "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Remember last time? Like, Mom, I'm an adult. I'm not gonna cry if
And Heath
Batman
Ledger,
crashes his
he
airplane.
died. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, you're gonna
Not in
cry
the
over.
movie, but yeah.
No, yeah.
So yeah, unless I missed that deleted scene where they just actually, yeah. So not in the movie, but yeah. But yeah, my mom always reminds me I cried when Batman's plane got crashed. So thanks, Mom. Appreciate that.
That's
You
so funny.
always got parents to humble you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
well, that's great because there's another link to you and me. Well, my brother in this scenario. So when Batman Returns came out, and at the end,
okay.
when the Penguin says, "I need a cold drink of ice water," and then he just
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
flops down like a big fat
yeah.
fish. When the penguins come out and they lead him like a funeral parade, they lead him into the sewer water. My brother cried, right, when he first
Yeah.
saw that. And he was crying, and my parents like were like, if Penguin, like he died, but he's a bad guy, it's okay. And at the time my brother was so young he couldn't articulate why he was crying. He was crying because the penguins were like pushing the penguin, and they look sad. So he was sad for the Penguins losing like
Okay.
their penguin dad, right? Like in Danny DeVito's Penguin. And whenever that gets brought up, my dad will always, when my mom was with us as well, they would be like, "You cried when the penguin died," and he was like, "It wasn't when the penguin died. It's because the penguins were sad that the penguin was dead." And it was one of those things that they would constantly remind him of it. So that's another link right there.
I love like what a deep dive you guys did. I just imagine hours of therapy and be like, it's not because of the penguin. It's because of what the penguins felt. Isn't that right, Will Robson? And he's like laying on the thing, like laying on the bed, be like, I think
Dressed
you're
as
right, doctor.
Yeah, dressed as a penguin.
He's got the top hat and his like little mittens. Yeah, he's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So do you like Batman Returns?
Yeah, I do. I have a soft spot for it. Look, I went through a weird relationship with it where as a kid, I loved it. And I've said on the pod before, that Catwoman had awoke me at a very young age, too young, in fact. That honestly, that spawned a lot of interest that is still deeply rooted in my brain. But I then reached a point where I was like, well, it's kind of weird and Tim Burton-y, and it's not very Batman, and Batman's not really in it. And I like had a period where I was like, I don't really like this movie. And then over the last few years, especially reviewing BTAS now, and like knowing that the Penguin in the cartoon is obviously linked to Danny DeVito's, I watch it every Christmas. And I have a ball. Like I have a great time watching this movie. And Burn Baby Burn. I love Danny DeVito's Penguin so much, even though it's not comic book accurate. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, and any movie with Keaton in it as Batman, I'm gonna watch.
Yeah,
So,
that's true. I do love Michael Keaton as Batman. It's not my favorite, but it's definitely not my least favorite live action Batman movie.
there
So
we go.
it is far
Well, we're
from
not.
it. If we're doing a top five and bottom five of that, it'd be it wouldn't be. I don't know how many live action Batman movies there are.
There's
even
so
on, but
many.
yeah,
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah. We were talking about before about like the BTS memorabilia. So when you were a kid, did you have the toys of BTS?
I did. I did have a number of the toys, of not just BTAS, but also Michael Keaton Batman. That was my favorite one as a kid, but I did have some BTAS as well. So, and I have some BTAS now, actually, as an adult, because I've re-entered childhood. I've completely gone in a full circle, and I'm an pubescent again, or whatever you say it.
This was COVID interest that spawned you to
Yeah.
do this.
Yeah. I think did we talk about that off pod or I can't
Yeah,
remember
we
if we did or
did.
not.
Yeah,
But yeah, so
yeah.
that was the thing. Like I used to have a lot of action figures as a kid. And then when you're a teenager, you're like, that's not really cool anymore. And like other kids aren't doing that, aren't playing with them. And so it's like, you're not gonna get a girlfriend playing with action figures. Not that not playing with action figures helped me get a girlfriend anyway. So still girlfriendless throughout my teenage years, with or without action figures. I found out quickly that was not what was holding me back.
When you asked her if she wanted to see your toy collection, she had a different idea in mind.
It's like
completely.
I was just holding it up. Yeah, I was like, "Would you like to go to the ice cream social with me?" Yeah, that did not work. But yeah, so I got out of it, and then spent a number of years putting all my eggs into one basket of professional wrestling, as you and I talked about. So I've got that background as well. Spent about a decade doing that, and then when I went back to school at Rutgers University during the COVID shutdown, I couldn't go outside. I was in New Jersey, which is probably the scariest place to be during a pandemic with no vaccines created yet. You know what I mean? So I was in New Jersey. So and then
here's a fucking vaccine, pop pop.
Yeah, yeah. And then we started getting those stimulus checks. I don't know if they did that.
Oh
in the
yeah,
UK
that's
or not.
right.
We started getting stimulus checks, and I never had so much money in my life. Alex, like I paid off, my school was already paid for at that point because I had like grants and scholarships and student loans that I'd already gotten out. So I was like, what am I going to do with this money? And I went on Amazon and I saw a Deadpool and Hitmonkey 2-pack. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I haven't bought an action figure in a while. And I bought it. And oh boy, you talk about a snowballs effect. Because pretty soon I was like, well, now I need this one. Well, now I need this one. Well, now I'm gravitated from Marvel. I went to Batman. I saw that McFarlane was doing Batman now in DC. And McFarlane obviously is a legend where we come from, right? Will is the ultimate McFarlane fan. So I started buying those action figures, and now they're re-releasing the Batman the Animated Series figures again. They're doing Mondo, like it never ends, like yeah.
We got a Jonah Hex coming soon.
Yeah.
Jonah Hex, he looks great.
I saw that. Yeah. Jonah Hex. Yeah. So that's
Broobies. I like Broobies.
I'm more a Ruby man myself.
Sorry, I'm drooling.
I just watched that episode again to see if it's in the bottom 5 at all. But yeah, so
oh, did you? Okay. We'll get to that momentarily. Obviously, that's why we're here. But speaking of the figures, I think it's definitely the right time to announce that you and me, Cade, have decided to do a show that's in tandem with Batman the Animated Series podcast. It will be a YouTube show, so you're hearing it here first, everybody. Cade and I are going to do a toy review show specifically around just toys from our childhood, but also new waves that are that now exist, like the Mondo figures, like the McFarlane figures. And we would definitely start with Batman the Animated Series, but obviously he's got a love for Turtles. And we've all got a love for so many properties from when we were kids. And toys is a great way, to funnel that love and to channel it.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a show. We're going to call it Figure It Out, right? And basically what we do is Cade, who's a collector, and me, who is not a collector, because if I started, I would have a serious problem, and I would have literally no money. I would honestly.
I wonder what that's like. Yeah,
I think that this show might turn me into a collector. But anyway, we'll see how we get on. But yeah, me non-collecting right now, you collecting, and we're going to review certain figures. The one that we're going to review first is the Mondo exclusive figure, the Phantasm figure from Batman Mask of the Phantasm, and it will be a YouTube only show. It's not going to be like hours or whatever long. It would literally be, we're here today to review this figure. You're going to have it obviously in hand. You're going to demonstrate. We'll talk about like the details and everything else, and then we'll figure it out. Is it worth it or not? Is it worth owning this figure? And obviously it sucks if it isn't, because you own it and you spent the money, but that's part of the game.
Yeah. So
I pay you, so I kind of own it a little bit, don't I?
yeah, exactly. You're just shoveling millions of dollars backing up the Brinks truck every week, baby, with Batman the Animated Series podcast. I've actually quit my normal job, ladies and gentlemen.
That's
I'm
right.
now living in Gotham in a high-rise apartment. So
he's making Mondo bucks.
Whoa, it'll be a fun show. And I do have the Phantasm in hand, have not opened it yet. Haven't even opened the box it's shipped in yet, because I'm kind of waiting for this show.
Yeah.
So that we can all kind of experience it at the same time, right? And kind of be like, because that feeling when you were a kid, when you first opened a figure, right?
Yeah.
That was the best feeling. That was the best part.
Kate, stop telling. This show is a bad idea, actually. I might have to back out, because I will seriously start buying all of this shit and have that feeling again. I can see myself.
You just fly me over to London and I'll bring all the toys with me and we'll just hang out with them. You know what I mean? So
play in the living room with them?
Probably cheaper than buying them yourself and just buying me a ticket to the UK.
Probably.
I've spent thousands of dollars on figures.
All right. So without further ado, are you ready to review your top 5 worst and top 5 best BTAS episodes?
Is this count as bottom 5? The answer is yes. I'm ready.
Alex. It's a gang symbol. Okay, I get it.
Whoa, no.
Please, no gang signs. No, throw it up. I'm kidding.
Okay, so we will start with the least best or the worst. Kade Calvin, according to Kade Calvin, what are your top 5 worst Batman the Animated Series episodes? I want to start with number 5. What is number 5? Being the number 1 is going to be the absolute worst, right? Okay, so
this was not hard, not as hard as picking the best, right? So I went through and I watched them again. Can I give some honorable mentions, the ones that I thought would be in the worst that are not in the worst, real quick?
Sure.
So I thought the Underdwellers 100% was going to be in the worst. I watched it the other day. I got a buddy here at work who just bought the whole series on DVD. And we watched the Underdwellers. I'm like, this isn't as bad as I remember.
Thank you. We've been saying that for years.
Especially when you rank the real stinkers of the Timverse here.
I was expecting Underdwellers to be on your list, so that's a pleasant surprise.
It's not. It's got a good story. I wrote some notes. Silly at points. The villain is very straight to VHS Disney Fern Gully type villain, but it's got a good story. Batman, of course, Batman would feel some kind of way about kids, orphans being abused. You know what I mean? And Batman offering a crocodile, for me, it's like prime TV. He murders a crocodile, and it's not the only time he ever does that in the series. No. We'll get to that possibly later, but
that's New Batman Adventures, right? New Batman Adventures. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I thought Showdown would be in there because I never liked Showdown because there's no Batman, right? I mean, it's not a Batman episode, but the episode isn't bad. I'm not a Jonah Hex fan. I didn't grow up reading him or watching him anywhere, but it's not a bad episode. So that's outside of my worst 5. The biggest surprise to me that wasn't in the top 5 for worst is Fire from Olympus. I thought for sure that hunk of dog crap was going to be in the worst 5. It's almost better now because you guys, and for people who don't know, that was the first podcast I ever edited on the show here.
It was,
Fire from Olympus. There were some growing pains on there. So some of it I can't even watch because of that, because it reminds me of like, oh man, that was a pain in the butt to edit that part when we were all learning to get better at this, right? But honestly, because of your and Will's breakdown of the episode, it's almost better than it was. And that final scene really is good, where he goes to Arkham and he's like, I'm finally Zeus.
It's the best scene of the whole episode.
It saves the episode from being KC's top 5 stinkers, trademark restricted, all rights reserved. So number 5, though, let's get into it. Number 5, I've got Batman in my basement.
Wow. Okay. Why is I've got Batman in my basement your number 5?
The reason it's not worse in my list is because of the Penguin. He saves it in some ways. It's got the Penguin theme song. Penguin is always well done in this show, but like
first time we see him as well in this episode.
Yeah, the first half of Act 1 is okay, and then from then on, it's pretty freaking boring. I'll be honest. You know what I mean? Like kids doing stuff. I'm sure as a kid I loved that, but like kids doing stuff as an adult, I'm like,
when are we going to get it? Get him. I mean,
how long is Batman going to be unconscious?
Come on, Batman, snap out of it. If that didn't wake him, I don't know what will.
Really? We've only got 22 minutes here. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's unconscious for probably 10 of them. Like,
I mean, I like that episode just because of how fun it is in a way. Like it has like Home Alone elements to it. The kid, we created a whole backstory in the future for him where he ends up being a murderer and trying to keep Batman in his basement again. But the fact that he tries to get Batman to like hook up with his mum is like,
hey Batman, are you single?
I'd like you to meet Batman. Batman, this is my mom.
Ma'am?
Hello? Say, Batman, you wouldn't be single, would you?
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, I would have loved Batman as my stepfather. Yeah, it's not great. And like, I don't think it's the worst episode, obviously, because there's 4 that are worse than this. And like, let's not sit here and think, oh, this means that like, you know, Kate absolutely hates this episode. I don't absolutely hate it. It shows how good this show is. If that's the foundation we're building, because there is good stuff in that episode. Penguin, as I said, anytime you got the Penguin theme song going, I'm in. That boosted it a couple points for me. You know what I mean? When I was going through this list. But yeah, there's just a couple things I can't overlook. Batman's unconscious forever. Like, you know, just little kids doing little kid stuff. It's fun for a bit. Like I think Spider-Man did a much better little kid episode than Batman did. The little kid dying
episode?
Yeah. That episode is powerful. That episode is powerful.
Yeah,
that is a powerful episode. And like this one is just kind of like, not to make fun of it, but forgotten, not forgotten. It just is forgotten because you go back and you're like, oh yeah, this episode, and you're like, this isn't very good. You know what I mean? And a Penguin might have the worst main baddie collection of episodes if it wasn't for Catwoman, if we're considering her a villain, because oh brother, does Catwoman have some stinkers on this list here? So
she does, and that would be on my list as well. Yeah. So what's number 4?
Yeah. Number 4, Moon of the Wolf. It feels very Saturday morning cartoon to me. Anytime Milo is an episode, it's automatically worse somehow. He's not a good character. He looks goofy. He looks so goofy in appearance. He does not look like he belongs in the Timverse.
Now, why don't I pour you a cup of tea, Anthony? You'll feel better.
In a pig's eye, Milo, there's only one thing I want from you.
The antidote? Certainly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how did this character infiltrate Bruce Timm's, you know, beautiful artwork? He just looks goofy with his haircut and his nose and everything. He doesn't look like he belongs. And the episode is just like, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's very predictable too. Batman fighting a werewolf, cool, I guess. You know, as a kid, I would have played with the werewolf action figure fighting Batman, sure. But it's incredibly predictable. There's just not a whole lot special here. But I still think it's a little bit worse than I've got Batman in my basement. Just because, like you said, there are some things that I've got Batman in my basement that you can cling to, especially as a child, right? We're all still very childlike.
And it's the Penguin. You know, it's like it's one of his main villains.
It's the Penguin.
Yeah.
And I did notice a trend with this. A big thing with the episodes is how good is the villain of the episode? If the villain's no good, the episode takes a nosedive because Prophecy of Doom is coming in next.
Okay, that's a good one.
So incredibly boring.
Yeah.
Like nothing happens. Nothing.
What does that mean? The show is about nothing.
Nothing happens in the
Yeah.
whole episode. It's not like good, slow detective Batman even. You know what I mean? It's like Batman's just pretending to be an idiot, and trying to help his friend out. And like, I can't even really tell you what happens. I just watched it last night, and I still can't really tell you what it's about.
It really feels like
it's like evil timeshare. Like
it's like a 60s episode of Batman from 1966. Like that would be the type of episode you would see Adam West get into, right? Like there's a cult and it's like trying to steal money from rich people, and they would create this villain, this like soothsayer villain. Like it totally is 66, which would have been great for the Adam West TV show, but for this cartoon especially doesn't work.
Brethren, you must transfer all you can to the Brotherhood's fund by tomorrow.
And it does fall flat, especially for 22 minutes and trying to appeal to kids. It also feels quite like a made-for-TV movie that Alfred Hitchcock would like reject. You know what I mean? Like he would be interested in maybe making it, but then be like, nah, actually, this isn't for me. So yeah, I totally agree with you. That's on my list as well if I had to pick one.
The only thing that saved it from being in the absolute top 2 is Batman going, psychic vibrations, Alfred. And then he like rolls his eyes. That is funny to me, know.
But how did the glass break, sir?
Psychic vibrations, Alfred.
Batman doing a sarcastic dad voice is pretty hilarious in the Batcave, fully dressed up as Batman. Like he's like, can you believe some people believe this crap? You know what I mean? Batman being a non-believer is funny to me. Other than that, though, it's very forgettable. That the villain isn't good. He's kind of funny, but he's like a villain who like he should have captured in the first 5 minutes to get to the real villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he captures that guy in 5 minutes and then Clayface shows up. He captures that guy in 5 minutes and then Two-Face shows up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not, let's do a whole episode on this guy. Like, I don't know.
Or it's the Mad Hatter, behind the whole thing.
Yeah,
you know what
something.
I mean?
Yeah, something to grab onto because I don't care about this guy and he doesn't show me anything. There are some other one-off villains that we'll get to later on in the plus side of this list that did show me some stuff. But so coming in next on the list, Tiger.
Okay, yep. I understand completely why that's on there.
I think there's just one word. It's cringy, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing is just pretty cringy. Some of the voice acting is okay, but like it was so bad, I was surprised Milo wasn't in the episode because I was like, this is a perfect Milo episode right here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. I do like that they brought back, was it Langstrom, the Man-Bat character? I like that he makes it appear. I like stuff like that where it's like Batman's got to figure something out, so it goes to a character we've already established as being in that field. I love stuff like that.
My analysis shows that it's similar to the compound that turned you into the Man-Bat.
You're right. It's called T-99, the brainchild of Dr. Emile Dorian.
Spider-Man did a really good job about that, right? Spider-Man the animated series,
did.
As you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I liked seeing that, but like the rest of the episode is just like you're just kind of sitting there, just waiting for something good to happen, and then it's just cringy, and then it's over. Like the whole thing
and
it's very
it's got a real like horny for furry vibe, which there's no yucking of any yum there. But for a kids' cartoon, it's very strange to have that. And Tigress, it just wasn't like an interesting character. Like he's just this guy that wants to be a human tiger basically and live in the wild. And is it Dr. Dorian or whatever his name is is just he's just like such a like Z-list like villain that's so forgettable.
Z-list is brutal. Not C-list, but Z-list.
Yeah, well, he's just such a ripoff of like the Island of Dr. Moreau, as we said. But
which I've never seen. I've never seen that movie, so I don't even get any nostalgia feels from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I forgive you, my friend.
Father?
I'm very disappointed in you, Tigress. I am ashamed of you.
Father, please.
I've seen lists where people are like, I like it because it reminds me of that movie. I've never seen the movie, so I just think the episode sucks. But
yeah, and it's Batman in the Jungle, and I didn't like Batman in the Jungle.
I'm not
he
a big
doesn't
fan
belong
of it either.
there. Yeah, and
it's kind of like Batman
rickety
in the desert,
bridges. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean the desert. Yeah, I know what you mean, but I could even pass some of that because there's like some tomb raiding that. Yeah, he doesn't really belong there either. But better than the jungle. Like when they're on that rickety bridge, like Temple of Doom style. I didn't like all of that, and the only redeeming thing I like about the episode is the animation is beautiful. That is.
Yeah.
I think that's. It's not Dong Yang, it's the other one. The one with S that did loads of anime. Oh my god, how have I forgotten
you're the expert.
this?
Oh man, Will is somewhere just staring at his phone.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do it. I know it begins with an S, and maybe I'll remember it later.
Don't worry, the editor will throw it in.
Thank you.
Anyways,
thank you, editor.
Yeah, Kate, could you just go ahead and do 50 million things for me? Or thanks, Kate.
Do I ever do that? Do I ever?
No, but sometimes Will does that. He's like, yeah, and make him eating ice cream. I was like, I don't know how to do that. Make him eating ice cream. Go buy some ice cream.
I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
I just ignored that, and also I'd already edited in you doing the tongue thing at that point. And I was like, I'm not redoing this. But number one on the worst, and just so everybody knows, this does not include New Adventures of Batman.
Yes, that's true. That's right.
Because I know Critters is a huge one that a lot of people hate, but that is technically not Batman the Animated Series. So,
true.
Number one on my biggest stinkers list, Cat Scratch Fever.
Cat Scratch Fever!
Oh, yeah.
The notes I have here, it's just the worst. Anytime Milo shows up, it's going to be bad. Nothing happens. It drags so much.
Nothing.
It does. And it's ACOM. It's ACOM at their worst.
Yeah,
ACOM
it's not good animation. It doesn't have enough Batman doing Batman things. He just feels like, I know it's a Catwoman episode, but he feels like such an afterthought in this. He's like, oh, I'll help you.
Catwoman, you're so hot.
You're hot.
Now you notice.
Yeah, anytime Batman's like can't fathom a thought, it's like, all right, what's going on here?
And the biggest, the finale is him fighting like a rabid dog on like a frozen lake, right? That's the finale of the episode. It's very strange.
Look at the theme of my worst list. There's all these animal fights.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of ACOM in there. Milo, any Milo episode is ACOM drawn as well. So there's another factor.
He just doesn't. I've seen him in comics. I don't know if he started in comics, but he just doesn't. Maybe Batman the Animated Series did him dirty. Maybe Milo is an awesome character, and I don't know.
He does. He does come back in Justice League.
Yeah, and then he gets.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, which is great.
I feel like Bruce Timm is like, all right, let's just have Doomsday kill this guy.
yeah.
Which is like very rare for a murder in a DCAU show. A full blown, they like confirm. You hear him go off screen. That never happens.
No, that's true. I mean?
What are you?
Your problem solved.
Yeah.
Like when I just watched Robin's Reckoning the other day, and like when they fall, there's no noise because they don't want you to know that they can get away with, no one actually died, Sexers. Because
such a great scene with that broken rope.
But on Milo getting killed, he does like a Mortal Kombat, like getting my spine ripped out. And it's almost more brutal than if you just seen Doomsday throw him out a window. You know what I mean? Like I was like, as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they definitely had it in for Milo. I think they were like, this guy sucks, and he never did anything great. So let's kill him.
Yeah. I think so
I thought that was good.
But...
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of the good, then let's get into your top 5 best. Good list, by the way. Like, as much as there will be ones that wouldn't make my list, there are certainly ones that do, and I understand your reasons for it. And pleasantly surprised that Underdwellers was not on that list. So, top 5 best. Is there any honorable mentions that didn't make the list?
There are. This was very difficult, and I was actually surprised with my own top episode because I went in thinking like, it's going to be this one or this one, and it wasn't either one of those. Right?
Wow. Okay.
So, and you and I have talked about one of my favorite episodes before. So, some that didn't make it, the trial didn't make it into my top 5. I like the trial a lot. It's just there's a couple like animation things, like Two-Face's mouth not moving. It's very much Batman like stuck the whole time. And I get that's the hook of the episode, but it's not enough cool Batman stuff. And like him saying who says I'm leaving is chef's kiss, but it wasn't enough to very high rated episode. I think I've got it 7.8 here, which on my scale is good, right? And whereas I think Cat Scratch Fever is below 5 for me. Like, it is dog crap. So
it is bad.
So and the man who killed Batman did not quite make it. I like that episode a lot. I like the premise, but it once again not a whole lot of Batman. Yep. And that's a theme for me because as a Batman fan, I want Batman. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to be like literally bonking heads together the whole 22 minutes, but I want Batman involved. I don't want Batman to be a side character. One that I thought for sure was going to be in the top 5 that is not is On Leather Wings.
Wow. Okay. I watched it again. To be.
I watched it again and I love the plot and everything, but there's a couple things I can't overlook. Even though it's not their fault, Alfred having a different voice really threw me out of it.
Sure.
Somebody's setting me up.
My heavens. You mean it wasn't you tossing guards out of windows last night?
I only toss butlers, Alfred.
Yeah.
Like it immediately, I was like jarring, you know what I mean? Like I was so expecting him to sound one way. And he's like, my name is Alfred, sir. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who the hell is that guy?
Who the fuck is this guy? Yeah.
Wayne Manor. One moment, please. A call for Master Bruce from a Dr. March.
That's not what.
What's he say? I'll cancel
for dinner, sir.
Yeah,
he says
and
that
I'll cancel it with for Bambi. Is it, sir? And he's like, yes.
Yeah, it's a little forced. Maybe if he had been the other actor, it wouldn't have been as bad. But also, a very recognizable helicopter pilot voice in the very beginning of the episode.
Hell yeah!
It's just Bruce Wayne. It's just the Bruce Wayne voice.
It is another reason we were talking about Epilogue earlier. It is another reason why that episode will be done last, because in Epilogue, right at the end, for another amazing bookend to the show, is Kevin Conroy as the voice of one of the blimp pilots again. So it has to be the last episode we review. And I love that it starts with him being Kevin Conroy. He's not Bruce Wayne. He's not Batman. It's just Kevin Conroy's voice.
It just was so recognizable to me that it almost made it feel low budget in a way, because it's like, they have 3 people doing the show. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You see that? What? I had a blip. It just ghosted across my screen. I don't see anything. It was there. Whatever it is must be right below us.
And like, I feel like it sounds like I'm hammering it, but I do love the transformation scene. I watched it again. I was showing someone, actually. I was like, you got to see this. And I Googled it on YouTube, and it was Batman the Animated Series podcast that came up.
No way.
Of the transfer. It's in me, Batman. Like, yeah, that is an amazing transformation, but it's also a little slow at times, that episode, a little plotting, you know what I mean? Like, I love Batman Detective. I'm one of the few people who likes the aspect of him being a detective in The Batman. That's not the reason I dislike that movie. There's other reasons I dislike that movie.
I'm just glad that I'm glad that you dislike it, because there's a lot of fans out there for that movie, and that's fine, but it just ain't my bag.
To make a long story short, it needs to be about 52 minutes shorter, and it would be a good movie. You know what I mean? If it was 52 minutes shorter, every superhero movie has to be 3 hours now. It's just like, I feel like Larry David over here, but what are you doing? What are we doing here? You know what I mean? Like, they don't have to be 3 hours. I don't think so. But also, Robin's Reckoning, not in my top 5. I don't like that as much as a lot of other people do.
It's fair. I like it, but I don't think it's top 5 material.
Yeah, it's good, but a lot of people have it in their like number 1 list. I saw it in a lot of number 1 slots when I was comparing my list to their list. You know what I mean? So I think it's good, but like, I like some aspects. Also, it's like, it felt like it didn't need to be 2 parts to me. Like other episodes, I'm like, this definitely warranted 2 parts too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but like Robin's Reckoning, I was like, I guess. Feet of Clay, 1 and 2 outside the top 5, very good, but also once again,
there's so many better episodes than worse episodes, which is such a testament to this show, right? Like, you're naming bangers, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not surprised they're not on the top 5, but also I'm just like, yeah, that is a great episode, though. Like,
yeah, and even the ones we consider mid are still good, like Night of the Ninja. Nowhere near my top 5, but I love that episode.
Yeah, it's a great episode. Yeah.
Batman doing ninja stuff, that's badass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah. Him
and connected. I like ones that are connected to his past or like to his psyche or whatever, so that's another one.
Like the Clock King, nowhere near my top 5, but I enjoy the hell out of Clock King episodes.
I've come to appreciate it more on this podcast because of my brother's, his defending of those episodes. And I've come around to liking him more. So, okay, we've got some honorable mentions.
So, the honorable mentions. So let me look at my list here. So I am combining 1 and 2 part episodes for mine. I don't know if that's
fair. I'll allow it because
because it's one story. If not, I can break it up and tell you which one I like better out of the two.
I know what's coming, but I tell you what, you can. I'll allow it, and then you can just tell me like if you had to pick part 1 or part 2.
Yeah, which one I like the best. So and before I get in, I have the top honorable mentions that are really going to throw you for a loop. Joker's Favor is not in my top 5, Alex.
That's what, man. Like, I love that episode a lot. But my brother loves it way more than I do, and he will die on that hill. And there's a reason it's still in our top 3 because we both have to agree if it needs to go in the top 3. So I can kind of understand that. I mean, it's a bit of a surprise, but I can kind of understand it.
I love it too, but I watched it again and I was like, it's not top 5. You know what I mean? It's got some really good nostalgia to it. The opening scene is fantastic. Then it kind of lulls for a bit, you know what I mean? And also the thing with the bomb at the end, I'm just like, how did he know it was a fake bomb? How did Joker not know it's a fake bomb? How did Batman know it's a fake bomb? I have more questions than answers.
There's a lot there's a lot of questions around fake bombs in that episode.
You really got to kind of stretch your imagination a little bit for that ending to work. But it is a great plot and everything. And I love the loser coming up and winning. Everybody loves that, right? The Forgotten didn't make my top 5, which is one of my favorite episodes.
So
but I just
good.
couldn't put it in there.
It's so
the
good.
music, this is so nerdy, but I wanted to learn how to play harmonica just because of this episode.
Hell yeah, man. I love that.
How
we
nerdy
love
is that? Yeah. How nerdy is that?
Not at all.
I'm not saying as a kid, Alex. I'm not saying as a kid. I'm saying about 2 years ago, I was listening to Batman the Animated Series podcast, and I was like, I saw a harmonica in the thrift store, and I was like, I'm going to buy this. As a 30-something-year-old man.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would get my guitar out and learn the riff. Let's do it. I love it.
I will go buy a harmonica and I'll start learning that part, and you learn that part.
We should do that for Figure It Out. Figure It Out should be the theme tune, should be the...
I don't know if we have enough time to figure out how to learn harmonica, unfortunately. But yeah, I love that episode. But it's like, if I'm going by my rule, there isn't a whole lot of actual Batman in it. You know what I mean?
There isn't, yeah.
So, but I love him going in disguise, and Batman goes in disguise a lot in the show. I noticed recently.
He does, yeah, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love
he's a master of disguise. Yeah, Robin's I don't know if it was the one we were talking about earlier. Not Robin's Reckoning, but the one we were talking about earlier. The It's Never Too Late or whatever it's called. The one. The mobster.
Yeah, he's
the hobo.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that wasn't even necessary. Batman just wanted to flex that he could dress up as a hobo. He could have just planted a device there days ago. You know what I mean?
It's true. Yeah, but he wanted to. I guess he just wanted to. See if he could do it. It's another checklist thing.
He's like, Alfred, I have the fake beard. I'm using it. You know what I mean? He's like, I paid for this. He's like, sir, you don't have to use that. You know. So, anyways, but let's get into the actual top 5. Now that I felt like I had to mention all these honorable mentions because I love all these episodes, right? So number 5, Pretty Poison.
Wow. Okay. It's a good episode. I'm surprised it's on your top 5. Why is Pretty Poison number 5?
So you guys weren't as high on this one as I am. I love this episode because it introduces Poison Ivy. It's got Harvey Dent in it. You know what I mean? It's got that tie-in, and it's got one of my favorite aspects of Batman is him using his brain to defeat the villain. Because Batman, obviously, in a one-on-one fight with Poison Ivy, yeah, he'd punch her lights out, right? You know what I mean? But the reason Batman is awesome is because he uses his brain. And the scene at the end where she poisons him, and Batman's like, he's like dazed and still punch drunk and everything. He's hanging with one arm, and she's like, "Say goodnight, Batman," with her little crossbow, and he's like, "I'm not going alone." And he lifts it up. And to me, it's like one of the ultimate, love that Batman, not to steal your stick moments in my life, because I'm like, hell, I fist bump as an adult still when I see that, because I'm like, hell yeah.
Do you think that's a wrestling moment? That's kind of a wrestling moment. You know what I mean? Like a wrestler, like pulling out like a move at the last minute, and it's like, oh my God, he's done it.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, a bit. And like just the fact that he's like, there's like, if he doesn't have the rose, he's dead.
I'm not going alone. The bottle for the weed.
Like, I know Almost Got Him talks about how she like used pumpkins or whatever, but that's her Almost Got Him.
That is.
If she went, screw that rose, Batman's dead. You know what I mean? Like Batman is dead, but he's like me or the weed. And it's so good to me. Like the top to bottom, that episode is very fantastic because it really shows you the kind of person that Poison Ivy is. And I love that episode. So I know you and Will don't like it as much as I do, but I think it's a fantastic episode.
Oh, I gotta take that sound clip of him going me or the weed, and I could create so many funny scenarios with that.
Yeah.
I just thought of
and him fighting the Venus flytrap and everything and kicking its teeth out.
Yeah, that's like, where that episode falls. Cool. It falls down for me there, though, because it's because it's too fantastical, and it feels Batman 66 again. I mean, Robin was eaten by a giant clam. Yeah, like in that show, a giant clam ate Robin, and it was like, tune in next time to find out if he lives or not. Spoiler alert, he does. But like, it just, I don't know. That was like, I get it, Poison Ivy, the green, but like, she's such a plant activist after everything that I would have been okay with that being enough, and her using like plant toxins and poison and gases. But I guess, or even if it was just vines, I would be okay with just vines grabbing him. Okay. But the fact that there's this like giant Venus flytrap like out of fucking Rocky Horror or whatever it is. So
Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop of Horrors. Yeah, sorry.
And honestly, I think that escalated the episode for me, because I don't see it as cheesy. I see it as terrifying, because because it's like an alien coming at you. One of the things I do think is cheesy is the Batman like fighting a shark, right? Because that is literally straight out of 66. So that hurt that episode for me. You know what I mean? So
that's comic. That's in the comics, but I guess I'm sure Poison Ivy has some sort of Venus flytrap in the comics.
I just love
Don't you dare say a bad word about Laughing Fish. If Laughing Fish isn't in your top 5, dude, I don't know what is. Is Laughing Fish?
You're gonna be looking for a new editor. All right, should I go to the next one?
Yeah.
Number 4, Baby Doll.
Wow. Whoa.
Love this episode top to bottom. It's got everything I want. You know what I mean? It's got Batman in peril, which Batman, I like to see, how does he get out of peril? Because the great thing about Batman is he's a street level superhero. He can fight Darkseid, he can fight Baby Doll, and it's believable either way. We talk about pro wrestling. The ultimate goal of a pro wrestler telling a story in the ring is to make you believe, right? I believe that Batman can do either one of those things, right? So like he just gets in different situations, and the character's so well done. The voice actor is so good. You talk about it's Rachel's boss from Friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I never watched that show. I'm not a big fan of that show, but I watched it with somebody recently, and they're like, this is creepy. And I'm like, it is, isn't it? Like, you could see this character as like in a horror movie or something like that.
Yeah, like a Chucky.
Her kidnapping the whole cast and bringing them back to the set is so good. Her motivations are good. Her goons are good. Gilligan and the Skipper. She's got a cool karate chick who's mysterious. Who like even Robin's like, dang man. He's like, she's whooping our asses right now. Yeah. Batman takes a flying Liu Kang kick to the face, and then a freaking set light falls on him. And trust me, Alex, those set lights are huge. If that fell on you, a normal man would have died. So
but it's just so strange to me that Batman's getting his ass whipped like this in this type of episode, he gets his ass kicked by a fucking tennis ball machine. You know what I mean? Like,
so I don't know if those are tennis balls. I was going to call you guys out on the podcast, but I didn't, because whenever I go to those amusement games, they don't shoot tennis balls. They shoot those hard balls at the pins, right?
It looked like tennis balls.
The way they form that, but like in my head, it's like, well, that's just a cartoon, or maybe she cranked up the speed. I don't know. Maybe those aren't regulation. And also Batman
up the speed,
and also
like
Batman just got
has that planned.
Yeah, and also Batman just got his ass whooped by a set light. Those lights are like hundreds of pounds. He's probably got broken ribs at that point.
Well, look, you're not in the minority. People love that episode, and I'm not saying that
it's very polarizing. I saw it on a lot of bottom 5 lists, which angers me and makes me think like, well, you just don't get it. You know what I mean?
No, it's not
I immediately became a snob. I was like, whoa, you obviously just don't understand the episode, what the story is trying to tell you.
Yeah, I would say Baby Doll is definitely would not be in my top 5. I enjoyed it, and
would you
I
top 10 it? Would you top 10 it?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would.
Well, we're not okay. How do we turn this off?
Look, you named so many episodes that didn't make your list, and those episodes, for me personally, your honorable mentions would make my top 10 before Baby Doll.
And I just watched them all too, because I didn't want to go by heart or memory or anything like that. You know, like
you've been doing a lot of watching recently.
Doing a lot of Batman, and a lot of stuff we talked about off pod too. So I had a long night, but yeah, and the ending. Act 3.
There's nothing weird that he did, by the way, folks. The way you said, like, and a lot of stuff that we talk off pod.
No, I had a long night. I had a long night with a neighbor. So yeah, and it has nothing to do with the band-aids on my face either. But people are gonna have more questions about Kade Calvin than answers after this episode. But no, the Act 3 of Baby Doll is fantastic. Him going through the House of Mirrors, her seeing herself. And like, it's so sad. And then her sitting there, click, 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 with the smoke coming out of the toy gun, which gimmick weapons always get plus points for me on a villain. That's why Penguin is so good. He does everything bird, and we love Penguin. He's cheesy as hell, man. If you really think about Penguin, it's incredibly cheesy.
Oh yeah, but like, he's just so much fun.
Yeah, but we love him. But Baby Doll, because she's a one-off, we're like, this is stupid. This is stupid. It's a little girl.
No,
but she's like 30 years old. But at least other people. I'm not saying you. I'm saying other people, right? And I just hit the mic. I apologize. Sorry, editor. But so anyway, so yeah, like her hitting that, and then him coming up and her saying in her adult voice, "I didn't mean to." And Batman he has the look of like disappointment, and the music that plays when he's staring down at her. When I edited the episode for you and Will, this is embarrassing. I cried.
Did you?
That clip in. I had tears in my eyes because I know what it's like to suffer an identity crisis and to feel like you don't belong anywhere.
Okay.
And that's ultimately what she felt.
Well, that's why it's on your list. That's why it's on your list then. Yeah.
I didn't mean to.
And there's going to be kind of a trend with this. It's things that grabbed me emotionally.
Well, that should be that should be something that happens for your top 5. Yeah.
All right. This would be the third best episode in Batman the Animated Series. Almost got him.
Oh yeah, I mean that's fair. I would put that maybe even in my number 1, but I love that episode. It's a perfect
really
episode. It's really good.
It's really good. It's got great flashbacks. You know, luckily I brought the 2-ton gang with me. I mean, it's ridiculous. You know, like it's got so many characters, which as a kid we all love, right?
Yeah.
Oh my god, all the characters are together at once, and then Batman standing up and the light flicker of Croc to Batman is one of the greatest like standalone scenes in the history of the show. You know what I mean? It's got Poison Ivy. She acknowledges that her and Harvey used to date. Because I remember cartoons used to always ignore stuff like that. And it always bothered me as a kid. Because we knew as a kid. So it's like, why would Two-Face want to be around this lady? She tried to kill him. You know what I mean? It's so good. It's so well done. All the stories are pretty good, you know? Like
it brought the show to it brought the show to a new level. It really did. It was the episode where there's a great picture of all of the voice actors on that day recording. It's like a black and white. All of them like lined up outside, like in a big group, and it's just spawned so much love for this show. I think that's what, like, it's a gateway episode. If I were to introduce someone to this show and I had to pick an episode for them to watch, it would either be The Laughing Fish or it would be this episode. And I'd probably go with this one. In fact, I know I would go with this one because I have a buddy of mine years ago when I started this podcast, and he was like, well, I've never seen this, so I listened to your Spider-Man show. What should I watch from BTAS? And I told him to watch this one first. And he was like, dude, this is a good fucking show. And I was like, right? And he's like, is that Mark Hamill? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Like, you know, like, it was total beginner, but it was a great beginner episode to show someone.
Well, you know what I think? Not the robot theory again. Well, he could be.
The only thing that holds it back from being higher on my list is, like, once you've seen it, you kind of have seen it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have as much rewatchability as some of the other episodes, where it's like, because the big hook of this episode is Batman being there the whole time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
and that was great with my buddy again when he was like
watching Saw.
It's like Batman. Like, I got that text. I was like, yeah, motherfucker. Yeah.
It's like watching Saw, though. Once you've seen the first Saw, which Will is completely off base, the theme song for Saw is pretty iconic. I've always wanted to tell you that. And now we're getting it officially on the record, like banana, banana, banana. You know what I mean? Like that theme song, I would immediately recognize that. But yeah, once you've seen the first Saw, it's like, oh, yeah, the guy gets up at the end, right? It's kind of like
game
the
over.
Whole episode is built around that. So it's kind of like, all right. So, but number 2 on my list is Heart of Ice.
Okay. Yeah, good one.
I love this episode. Solid. I think Mr. Freeze might be my favorite Batman the Animated Series villain.
I mean, he's in my top 3. Yeah.
He's so well done. They completely, and just knowing that they completely revamped the character too for the show. It's Bruce Timm has got his fingerprints all over it. You know what I mean? It's not like he came like this and like, because the Joker
and
was
Paul Dini, obviously Paul Dini.
Yeah, and Paul Dini and everybody else who worked on the show. But like the Joker was already established as being awesome. You know, and Mark Hamill takes it to another level, but the Joker was already really fun and really awesome. Mr. Freeze was like Dr. Egghead or whatever, or the Clock King. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and they took him to levels that we never seen before. You feel bad for this guy. And like, he says cold lines without sounding cheesy. Sorry, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you're incredibly cheesy when you do it.
All right, everyone. Chill.
Yeah. So, and like, right. And just the chicken soup at the end, the only way to fight a cold. The only thing I hate about this episode is where the heck is that chicken soup at? When he hangs him up upside down.
That's what we said. Yeah.
That's the only thing. It's hard to like.
Is it in a pocket in his cape? Because he loses his belt.
Yes.
Half the episode is his belt's gone. And you don't see it.
I love when villains do that, when they're like, I'll take this. Because it's smart, right? It's like, if you've rumbled with Batman or you know about Batman, like, you're not going to let him just have his utility belt. Like, it's like, where is that soup the whole time? And like, that episode is just so well done. Like, I think it's my favorite Mr. Freeze episode. And just, you know, the voice acting of Mr. Freeze, he sounds incredible.
Yes, I mean the line of I would shed a tear if I had tears to shed, and the way he delivers that is so just poignant, and like the way they kept on being like slower, and he kept on slowing down, and they just found that point where even his speaking was frozen. You know, it was so slow moving and like ice.
I saw what happened to your wife. I'm sorry.
I'm beyond emotions. They've been frozen dead in me.
I love it so much. I totally agree with you. I just remembered the name of the animation company before that began with an S that also animated this episode, which is Spectrum Animation. So Spectrum did... Really?
They did this one too, because this one's really well done. I really like this episode. So that's pretty impressive. But yeah, and then just like... another point is this is another big one that I saw with your guys' podcast is like the video camera footage. One of the funniest clips you guys have ever done. As an editor, of course, I love that.
That's true. I mean? Yeah.
As an editor, it's like, why would this? Because anytime you've ever seen a video camera security footage, it's one camera in the corner. It's black and white and it's blurry. It's never good. This is like Spielberg came in and did this. You know what I mean? And like Will going, there's an 8-camera setup in there. Like I thought was the funniest thing ever. Like that was so funny to me. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, I'm moonlighting an editor. I've sent that clip to friends who don't even watch Batman, who are editors, who think that clip is hilarious.
No shit. That's funny.
Yeah,
I mean,
other editors in the news business. So
yeah, those clips were like one of the first clips I ever did. So I'm glad that that they last and people remember them. But that episode also lasts and people remember it. It is a big episode of the show, and I totally get it. And I remember when we were coming up to reviewing it, and we had reviewed some great episodes, but I remember it being like, all right, you have to get this episode right. Like there was something in my head where I was like, this has to be a good review because it's going to be probably your most listened to episode for a while, because everyone goes Batman the Animated Series, Heart of Ice. Like it just kind of goes in tandem. So yeah.
And that's why it's the second best episode according to Kade Calvin.
I think I know what your number one is.
And speaking of Mr. Freeze, you, myself, and Will are going to be doing a live show September 14th on Sub-Zero. The two boys are going to review Sub-Zero live. I'm going to be the guy in the chair fielding questions live on YouTube September 14th, 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't even have notes in front of me. I just do this.
Look at that.
I do this.
That was amazing.
Come on now.
That was really good.
Come on now. But yeah, drum roll, please. And like I said, it is a 2-part episode, which totally gives it away. Two-Face 1 and 2 is the best. If you combine it, which I do, and I'll pick which one I like better, which will also surprise you, I think. If you combine it,
don't you dare!
I think it is the best. Yeah, I think part 2 is better than part 1.
That's insane. That is insane. Yeah. Why? Okay, I respect your number one choice. Yeah. I can't believe it's not number 2. Sorry, it should have been number 2. Yeah. But
just for the joke.
Just for the joke. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But also there's 2 things I want to talk about here. The first one is I'm surprised that Perchance Stream wasn't on that list. I mean, it's a great episode. Yeah. I'm surprised it didn't make the list.
I don't mind it. I'm not a big fan of like the whole episode was a dream type episodes of series.
Okay, fair dues.
The Sopranos did that to death, and I always kind of pulled me out of it a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it's not. Yeah. Once again, it's not actual Batman, right? So,
but it's his mind and it's his psyche. That's why I thought maybe it would have been in the honorable mentions or on the list.
I think it's a good. I think it's a good episode, and like it could be in the honorable mentions. I just didn't mention it. You know what I mean? I didn't honorably mention it.
Sure.
And the Laughing Fish, I'm not as high on as you guys are.
That's crazy. That was going to be,
him fighting the shark is Batman 66. Like,
the Laughing Fish is amazing. I can't hear it. The Laughing Fish is an incredible. It's the best Joker episode. I like it more than Joker's Favor. It's an amazing Joker episode for a solo Joker outing.
I think it's good. And obviously, like this isn't like it's in the bottom 5. You know what I mean?
No, I know.
All these are good, right?
Yeah,
these are all good. Even the worst ones. I'd rather watch Cat Scratch Fever than a lot of cartoons today, right? Let's get that out there. If anybody's favorite episode is The Laughing Fish or Joker's Favor or anything, and you want to come strangle me, they
won't. Don't worry.
Fine. That's fine. I get it. We all
it's not outrageous.
I've got Baby Doll in my top 5, and a lot of people think it's like one of the worst episodes ever. But emotionally, it pulls me in different directions. You know what I mean?
So you're connected.
The Laughing Fish doesn't do that.
No. And you said you're connected to a lot of these episodes. So your Two-Face choice, and if you had to choose part 2 as your favorite, which I'm really surprised at because I think part 1 is such a.
Do you want to know why?
Episode. Sure.
Part 1 is very good, but he doesn't become Two-Face until the end of the episode.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to me. What I love is the Harvey Dent descendants into being Two-Face, and like how is
Harvey. The Harv's hands.
Oh yeah,
Harv's hands.
Big Bad Harv.
Yeah. I can't do it on camera.
I think you're gonna do Harvey. No,
Harvey. No.
But
that just cracks me up. The stance he gets in, like when he's in Big Bad Heart mode.
I'm gonna give you a wedgie. But I love part 1 definitely more than part 2. But I love both those episodes, and they are one story, which is what I said and why I allowed it. But what do you love about it, and what are you connected to there? What makes it your number 1?
I think mental illness. I think the fact that they gave him a pre-existing mental illness, like if they say it's like an anger problem, but it's a mental illness, right? We watch it and like this guy's got a mental illness, and like my people in my family have suffered from mental illness. Like mental health is something that doesn't get talked about even enough in 2025, and that is an incredibly heavy subject for a cartoon. Right.
Yeah, big time.
And they automatically gave you something to grab onto. It's not like, we got half his face burned and now he flips a coin and he's a Batman villain. You know what I mean? Like, they could have done that and called it a day, baby. You know what I mean? But just like every other villain, they gave you something tangible to hold on to. And they built up, like, part one is really good. That's why I wanted it included in this, because they built this long, like it's the roller coaster going up for 22 minutes, right? Harvey destroys his therapist doctor's office, you know what I mean? He's like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. You know what I mean? He freaks
Who's
out.
not Leslie Tompkins, by the way, which was a surprise.
So weird. I don't understand. But anyways, someone else got multiple personalities. Yeah. So, but yeah. So, and like it's got Candace and Rupert Thorne, who like are so easy to hate, especially Candace for some reason. I don't know why. Like, I find myself like when Bane like gets her offed or whatever, I'm like, finally.
I thought you said when Bane gets her off. I was like, when did that happen?
No, gets her offed. Or Batman, I guess, gets her off, but her relationship with Bane gets her offed, right? So, because she's totally dead after that, right?
Oh,
we can agree.
Is. Yeah.
That's Batman the Animated Series canon. Like, it's like, because I think the thing about her is because she like, you never like someone who literally is going to turn on everybody, right? She has no loyalties to anybody. Like, even like other villains, you're like, they're still loyal to someone on some point. Like Mr. Freeze is loyal to Nora. Two-Face is loyal to Chance. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
like,
and the coin.
She's loyal.
Yeah.
She's just a heavy, like a thug, and she's loyal to not even Rupert Thorne.
She's just climbing the ladder and trying to find the most powerful person that she can buddy up with.
Yeah. I can't stand her though. I hate her. Like, in a good way though. You know what I mean? Like, I hate her in a good way. And I'm like, oh man. And she's like, she reveals to Thorne his like mental illness, and like they go to blackmail him, which is so dirty. On the night of him winning the election, no less.
It's brilliant.
Like, these people are evil, you know what I mean? And like, and like, he's so, and I feel for him because in some ways I'm like, man, Harvey's kind of a dick, but in other ways I'm like, he's really going through it. You know what I mean? Like, his life is crumbling before him. And then the big reveal at the end is his face is all messed up and his fiance faints, you know? And like, we go into Act 2, which I think is better than Act 1 because it's full blown Two-Face.
Yeah, but without Act 1, you wouldn't enjoy Act 2 at all.
Of course. And that's why I had to combine them. But like, which one grabbed me emotionally more? It was definitely Act 2.
Because even if you hadn't seen Part 1? If you hadn't seen Part 1, would Act 2 grab you the same way?
The only thing I'd be missing, I think it would, but the only thing I'd be missing is some of the Rupert Thorne background. I'd be like, why does he hate Rupert Thorne so much?
And that's Harvey's backstory too? Like, his whole thing?
Well, I mean, I know who Harvey Dent is, though. I guess if I had never heard of Batman and Two-Face, and
but you were just
one
like
episode blind, yes,
his big bad Harv and like all of that was all explored in Part 1. By the time he was Two-Face, he's just Two-Face, you know, and like, not that that's a bad thing, but it's like, I loved seeing all of that build up and that into his psyche. Which is why Part 1, I mean, I'm not here to debate with you, and I don't know why I'm even starting. But yeah, I mean, they're both very good. They're very good episodes. Yeah. Part 2, I mean, you know, you get the Batman Forever stole the ending from that episode with throwing the coins.
I have to have it!
It's all right now, Harvey. I'm here.
And that's the part that got me emotional. You know what I mean? Is he breaks down weeping. This is a grown man. This is a bad dude. Like, he's had 6. And I love that they say it's been 6 months. 6 months of him just making Rupert Thorne's life a living hell.
Whoa, that's half a year. I've just realized. Half a year. That's why they did it.
Yeah,
Holy
baby.
Shit.
Yeah. And he waits for 6 months, and then he's like, now is the time to strike.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Half a year.
I've embarrassed Rupert Thorne enough. Now it's time to take him out. Yeah. And the voice actor for Two-Face is fantastic.
Richard
He's
Moll,
so good. He's I think him and Baby Doll are two of the most impressive performances because they flawlessly go back and forth between their two personalities. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, if you had told me those are two different people doing those two different voices, I'd have believed you.
Yeah. Second Chance, that episode that we just reviewed, with like Harvey saying like, Batman, help me. And it's like Harvey's coming through the Two-Face voice.
You recognize it. Yeah.
You do. Yeah. It's brilliant. It's so good. Yeah.
It's fantastic. And like Batman, I also like Batman in Peril, like I said. So his ribs are messed up in the episode. And it also gives you an out for why does Two-Face take down Batman? Because Batman doesn't want to beat up Two-Face. It's his friend. Right. He's trying to plead with him. And so Two-Face is like, no, I can't do it. And he kicks him into that thing, and Batman's out cold, and the janitor comes up, and Batman's ribs are established as being messed up. A babyface in Peril. Come on, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat coming in with taped up ribs. Come on, right? Like Batman in Peril is always good because that's the reason that gives him an out for why he can't just immediately dispose of some thugs or something. You know what I mean? Because he's a man at the end of the day. So his ribs are messed up. He's holding himself like Harvey's fiance is holding him up, and Batman, with the last ounce of strength he has in his body, lifts probably the heaviest thing ever, which is a huge box of coins. Lifting one box of coins with no leverage is insane. And he just goes, ugh. And Harvey just loses it. And he's just crying and weeping. And like his fiance's like, it's over. I'm here. And they're crying together. And like I cried too watching that episode last night. I'm like, this is it's a masterpiece, baby. And that's why I scarred up my face. That's why I scarred my face in honor of this episode.
Bringing it all around. If you think about it, if you cry in an episode, it should definitely be in your top 5, right? Like if it hits you on that level, it must be high up there for you if it resonates with you on that level. And I totally respect it and appreciate that. Thank you for doing all of the research as well for this and the preparation. I didn't know you were gonna watch them all. That's pretty intense. But
hey, I take it seriously, baby. Yeah. So
but now your list is like, it's solid. You're not gonna listen to this in like a year and go, what the fuck was I thinking? I haven't seen like Baby Doll in so long by then, and now it's like,
and that's why I looked at other lists too to be like, am I missing any stinkers? Am I missing any diamonds in the rough? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it was like, I was like, cat scratch fever. I forgot that. Oh my gosh, this is bad.
It's bad. It's real bad. It would be probably my number one least favorite as well.
I thought Underdwellers would be my least favorite, and because I put those other ones like out of my mind. Like Moon of the Wolf is so
it's
nuts,
bad.
But
Yeah.
But
the good outweighs the bad big time in this show, as we've just established. Like all of your honorable mentions, all of the episodes that you listed, and all the ones in your top 5, like they are really good. There's so much good to this show, which ultimately is why we do the podcast and why we talk about this. So yeah, thank you for doing all of that research and work and going into this. And this is your top 5 worst and top 5 best of BTAS according to Kade Calvin. Guys, if you're listening and you agree or disagree, you can always write to us at batmantaspod@gmail.com or find us on the socials, batmantaspod, anywhere except for Twitter, which is at batmantaspod1. And that's because why?
Because we are the number 1 Batman the Animated Series podcast.
You goddamn right. And if you want, you can check out our tip jar. This is all off my head, by the way. I haven't written this down, so it's not going to be verbatim. But you can check out our tip. Oh yeah, so pro. I've literally said this every day for like every week for the last fucking 4 years. But check out our tip jar. It's in the description. We aren't billionaire Playboy philanthropists, so any amount you can afford to give us is not necessary, but always greatly appreciated. Again, check out Will's stuff at Robson Inc. That's INK on the interwebs. He also has a Kickstarter going right now.
Which I have pledged to. Did you pledge to it yet?
Yeah, I did.
Baby.
I did it.
And I'm waiting for that 4th of July drop too. I'm getting that one as well. I saw he sent me a sneak preview of what that's going to look like. Ooh, baby. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
one. A little patriotic looking at that one. I was like, sign me up.
That's a big one. I'm looking forward to that one as well. But yeah, check out his Kickstarter. It's Outbreaks Volume 1. He's managed to do a collection of all of the Outbreak stories that he's released so far. So you can go to the link in the description below or search on Kickstarter Will Robson. Robson or Outbreaks, and you can go and pledge there. And if you can't afford to pledge any money, that's okay. Then please share it around, because sharing is caring, and that's how projects get funded. He's very close. He literally, at the time of recording, he released it 2 nights ago live on a podcast. We went on Geek Pride podcast. One of the guys that hosts that show is a listener of our show, John Joe. Shout out to John Joe. So he released the Kickstarter on the podcast and got loads of backers. One fake backer who's been like just basically
Will and I talked about that Discord, which everybody who's watching who hasn't joined the Discord should also join the Discord. Lots of fun conversations in there behind the scenes. But yeah, a Nigerian prince, literally a Nigerian prince scam.
It was it was similar to that. It was if you email me, I'll give you another 3,000 to complete.
That's so. I never knew they did that with Kickstarters. It is so crazy to me.
It's crazy.
I thought he was joking when he told me.
No, because we were literally on, and someone pledged like over $1,000, and we're like, "What the fuck?" And we were on the podcast, and this guy on
they bought 4 of the highest tier.
It's crazy, but anyway, even with that fake amount of money being gone now, he's up there at the time of recording. He's about like $2,500 away, and he's only been going for a couple of days. So, guys, if you haven't yet and you're listening, go check out his Kickstarter, Outbreaks. I edit these stories as well, so I have a hand in all of this, and I love these stories so much. I even went to go see 28 Years Later. I guess we're not doing what we put in our holes, but I went to go see 28 Years Later and love some of the zombie stuff, but I was like, man, I love what he's doing in Outbreaks. So yeah, if you like zombies, if you like twisted tales, and you like dark comedy, go check that out. Kade, where can our listeners find you?
You can find me anywhere on the
anywhere. You can find my underwear.
Anywhere. You can find me anywhere on the interwebs at Kade Calvin TV. So that's on Instagram. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I also have Facebook and Twitter or X or whatever, but I don't check those as often. So, and you can also shoot me an email at kadecalvintv@gmail.com and tell me why you think my list is superior to yours, and why you bow down to Kade Calvin's Batman knowledge. So that'll stir some pots right there.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to know what other people's lists are. And compare and contrast. So yeah, thank you for coming on the show, Kade, and thank you for all the editing that you do as well, man. Greatly appreciated. We got loads of cool stuff coming down the line for episodes. Our live episode on YouTube, as mentioned, September 14th, which will be premiering the Sub-Zero review. We'll be doing it live on YouTube, so check us out. More to come on that, about what we'll have in the episode in detail, from games and all of that. But Kade is a big part of that and helping us make sure that goes smoothly. Smooth as ice, baby.
Smooth as ice. I've always wanted to do that.
Ice, baby, bitch. Yeah, okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. Join us next time where we'll continue talking all things Batman, the animated series. Until then, I've been Alex Robson.
I've been Kade Calvin.
And remember that we are Vengeance, we are the Night, we are a podcast. Toodles!
Bye-bye.